The laugh of the queen in the cold blue-lit halls of the Veltran High Court. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. The towering pillars stretched into the mist above, and golden banners of the empire waved slowly, despite the absence of wind. Every species in the room held its breath, their eyes fixed on the throne. There she sat, Queen Lysira, ruler of the Veltran Empire, 8 feet tall, armored in biocrystal plates that shimmered with living light. Her skin was smooth like stone, dark, silver in tone, and her eyes glowed violet with power. She was feared across 3 galaxies, known for her strength, her strategy, and her unshakable pride in Veltran blood. Today, she faced a new visitor, a human. He stood calmly at the center of the room, unarmed, wearing a simple gray uniform. His name was Adam Cole, a representative sent from Earth as part of a peace delegation. He was average in height by human standards, but compared to the towering Veltrans, he looked almost childlike. Still, there was no fear in his eyes. Lysira narrowed her gaze. "So," she said, her voice echoing like a chime through crystal, "this is what humanity sends as their offering." One of her advisors, a short insect-like alien named Vesic, stepped forward. "High Queen, they say he is a symbol, a gift of goodwill. They wish to open trade and explore genetic research between our species." The court snickered. Some coughed awkwardly. Others just stared at Adam like he was a joke in motion. Lysira stood from her throne, her massive form moving with slow elegance. She stepped down, her armored feet clicking against the marble floor. Standing before Adam, she looked down, studying him. "So," she repeated, "they think I would breed with this?" Adam said nothing. Her laughter burst through the chamber like thunder. It echoed through the arches, sharp and clear. She laughed until her shoulders shook, until even the guards at the edge of the hall exchanged awkward glances. "Breed? With a human? Your bones would snap, your organs would fail. You wouldn't survive the first hour." Adam's face didn't change. He simply looked up at her, meeting her gaze. "I didn't come here to breed," he said calmly. "I came to represent my people. If you think that's funny, go ahead and laugh." Lysira's amusement paused. The calm in his voice, it wasn't arrogance, it wasn't fear, it was something else. Confidence, yes, but more than that. Control. She tilted her head, studying him again. "You're either brave," she said, "or stupid." Adam smiled slightly. "Is there a difference where you come from?" Some in the court gasped. Others murmured. Lysira did not smile. But she didn't strike him down either. She turned to Vesic. "Take him to the observation chambers. Let's see how this human behaves under pressure." As the guards led Adam away, Lysira returned to her throne. Her laughter faded, but something else remained. A thought. A flicker of curiosity. Why didn't he flinch? The observation chamber was smaller, lined with scanners and genetic monitors. Adam sat calmly in a silver chair while 2 Veltran scientists circled him with buzzing devices. Queen Lysira watched through a one-way window, arms crossed, her mind troubled. The human's readings were strange. He had no physical enhancements, number mutations, no external armor or energy shielding. Yet his vitals remained stable. His heart rate was calm. His mind clear and sharp, showing no signs of fear or anxiety. Vesic entered quietly. "Your Majesty," he said. Initial scans suggest that while primitive, his DNA shows surprising adaptability. There's a 98% compatibility with Veltran reproductive sequencing. Lysira blinked. "Impossible. No species is that close to ours." "That's what we believed," Vesic said carefully. "But this one, he's different. Perhaps an evolutionary anomaly." The queen stared through the glass. Am looked up, as if he could sense her watching, and he smiled. Later that night, alone in her private quarters, Lysira sat in silence. Her chamber was vast, decorated with living vines, floating crystals, and a pool of glowing water. She stood before the mirror, her tall form casting a long shadow. She remembered how he had looked at her, not with lust, not with fear, but with respect. No one looked at her like that anymore. They bowed. They trembled. They obeyed. But this human, this Adam, met her eyes as if they were equals. She didn't like it, but she didn't hate it either. She turned away from the mirror and activated her data screen. Images of Earth flashed by humans in cities, in battlefields, in families. So weak, so small. And yet, they had spread fast across the stars. Not by power, but by will. Was it possible? Could a human and a Veltran truly create offspring? She shook. Her head, ridiculous, absurd, and yet, the thought remained. For the first time in many cycles, Queen Lysira could not sleep. The silent spark Queen Lysira stood at the edge of her private balcony, high above the glowing city of Veltran Prime. Night was quiet. Cold air moved across the towers like silent rivers. She stared into the sky, watching distant ships move like stars in motion, but her mind wasn't on the city or the stars. It was still on the human. Adam Cole. Since his arrival 3 days ago, he had done nothing extraordinary. He answered questions. Calmly, he moved respectfully. He made no threats, no boasts. Yet something about him kept pulling at her thoughts. She told herself it was curiosity, nothing more. A queen had every right to study a strange visitor, especially one with such unusual genetic readings, but deep down, she knew it wasn't just that. He had not bowed. He had not begged. He had looked her in the eye and spoke as if they were equals. No one did that. Not even her own generals. The next morning, Queen Lysira summoned Adam to the royal garden, a space reserved only for high-ranking Veltrans and diplomats of importance. It was a place of peace, filled with floating stones, humming trees, and light vines that moved with thought. Adam arrived quietly. 2 guards stood behind him, though he didn't seem concerned. Lysira sat on a bench made of crystal branches. She looked at him without speaking for a while. "You sleep well in my empire?" she asked at last. Adam looked around the garden. "It's quiet, peaceful. I'm not used to that. You were a soldier?" "I still am." "Why did they send a soldier to speak of peace?" Adam smiled faintly. "Because soldiers know the cost of war." Lysira studied him. His answers were always simple, but they left an impression. No extra words, no tricks. Just truth. She gestured to the bench. "Sit." He sat, keeping a respectful distance. For a few minutes, there was silence between them. The vines shifted above, catching sunlight like golden threads. Finally, Lysira spoke. "Why did you not react when I laughed at you?" Adam glanced at her. "I've been laughed at before." "By a queen?" "My people who thought I was weak. Until they saw I wasn't." Lysira tilted her head. "You're not afraid of me. I'm careful around you," Adam said. "But no, I'm not afraid." A slow breath escaped her lips. "Do you know what I could do to you with one strike?" "I do," he said calmly, "but I also know you won't." That made her pause. "And how do you know that?" Adam looked at her, eyes steady. "Because you're curious. If you weren't, I'd be dead already." For a brief moment, Lysira felt something rare, an emotion she hadn't touched in years. She was impressed. Later that day, the royal lab was activated for deeper study. Lysira gave the command herself, a full genetic breakdown of Adam's DNA, along with advanced simulations of reproduction, mutation potential, and long-term offspring growth. She didn't explain why. She didn't have to. Veltran scientists obeyed, though many whispered behind closed doors. A queen showing interest in a human? Unthinkable. Dangerous. But the data was clear. Adam's biology was highly adaptable. His immune system could bond with Veltran blood. His genetic structure was flexible, in ways they hadn't seen before. And the simulations? They showed possible offspring stronger than average Veltrans, with hybrid neural pathways that hinted at faster learning and resilience. The lead scientist, Dr. Thalov, approached her in private. "Your Majesty," he said. Nervously, "These findings are extraordinary, but dangerous. If the court learns of this, they won't." She cut him off. "But if they did, they won't," she repeated coldly. Thal-IV bowed and left without another word. That night, Queen Lysira couldn't sleep again. She walked through her chamber barefoot, her long robes trailing like smoke. Her thoughts kept circling Adam. He had done nothing wrong, nothing offensive. And yet he had become a storm inside her. Mind. Was it his calmness, his eyes, the way he stood straight when others bent? Or was it the idea, this strange, impossible idea, that her race was not alone at the top of evolution? She activated her data screen again. Adam's face appeared, still and calm under scanlight. She studied it for a long time, then closed the screen. She needed to see him again, not in public, not in a lab, alone. The next day, Queen Lysira sent a direct message to Adam's quarters. "Meet me in the observatory at the top of the spire, midnight. Come alone." No royal seal, no guards. Just a single message. At midnight, Adam arrived. The observatory was dark, filled with stars shining through a transparent dome. It was quiet, high above the city, far from curious eyes. Lysira stood by the edge, her back to him. "You came," she said without turning. "You asked," he replied. She turned slowly. Her robe was simple this time, without her usual armor or crown. She looked less like a queen and more like a person. They stood facing each other, the stars casting shadows across their faces. "Why are you really here?" she asked. Adam answered, "Honestly, to stop a war before it starts. And because I wanted to understand your people. And now that you've met us, what do you think?" He took a breath. "You're strong, beautiful, proud, but also alone." She stared at him. That word hit deeper than expected. Alone. She stepped closer. "And what are humans?" "Stubborn, messy, but we don't give up." For a moment, their eyes locked. The silence between them wasn't cold now. It was warm, heavy with something unspoken. Lysira reached out, her fingers brushing his arm. "You confuse me, Adam Cole. And you fascinate me, Queen Lysira." She didn't pull away, neither did he. Something had started. Not just curiosity now, a spark. Small. But it is dangerous. Experiments and excuses. The sun of Veltraxis rose slowly, casting long shadows across the royal towers. Queen Lysira stood alone in her chamber, her mind restless. The night before had changed something. It was not just a conversation, not just curiosity, anymore. She had touched him, not by mistake, on purpose. And he had not stepped back. The soft touch on Adam's arm still burned in her memory. She had met kings, warriors, and conquerors. But no one had ever looked at her the way Adam did, like she was a person, not just a ruler. It was dangerous. It was strange. And yet, she wanted more. Later that morning, Queen Lysira summoned her science council. They gathered in the Grand Genetics Hall, a place full of light, crystal data towers, and humming machines. It was where Veltranen studied bloodlines, future warriors, and superior evolution. Dr. Thalov stood nervously at the front. Lysira's voice was cold and clear. "I want a full compatibility test run again. This time, include emotional bonding, metrics, hormonal data, and psychological alignment charts." The scientists looked at one another, confused. One of them spoke. "Your Majesty, are we preparing for a political union?" Lysira didn't answer right away. Then she said, "We are studying possibilities. That is all." The scientists bowed and got to work, but whispers began to spread through the palace. Adam noticed the stares. He felt the tension in the halls. The guards who used to ignore him now watched him closely. The staff who once spoke politely now stayed silent. Something had changed. He was no fool. He had seen court games before, even in war. And now he was in the center of one. That evening, Lysira invited him to a small chamber inside the Royal Genetics Wing. It was quiet, sterile, and private. A medical bed sat in the center, surrounded by gentle lights. Adam walked in and raised an eyebrow. "You planning to dissect me?" Lysira gave a soft smile. "Not today." She motioned for him to sit. He obeyed, but kept his eyes on her. "What is this place?" "Genetic calibration lab," she said. "We study biological matches here. Mating viability, long-term evolution paths, potential reproduction." Adam leaned back slightly. "You want to know if we could have children?" Lysira met his gaze without flinching. Yes, there was silence, a long one. Then Adam said, "You could have just asked." She laughed, a short sound. "This is how my people ask." The scans began. Machines buzzed softly, scanning his body, mapping DNA strands, reading hormone responses. Lysira stood beside him the entire time, watching the results in real time. The screen blinked green. Compatibility, 98.4%. Reproductive viability, HGH offspring projection. Physically superior hybrid/stable mental fusion, evolutionary leap, type. Lysira stared at the data. Even the machines were surprised. The probability of a Veltran non-human child was supposed to be 0. And yet, here was proof. Adam stood and looked at the screen, then at her. "So," he said slowly, "we're genetically compatible?" Lysira nodded, still processing the truth. "More than I expected. More than anyone thought possible." Adam folded his arms. "What are you going to do with that information?" She looked at him. "That depends." "On what?" She stepped closer. "On whether you're just a soldier or something more." Adam didn't move. "And you? Are you still just a queen?" There. Eyes locked again, and something in her shifted. Over the next few days, things moved quickly. The science team continued running models. The results stayed the same. A hybrid child would be strong, smart, and adaptable. It could survive on multiple planets, learn faster, heal quicker. But the court was not ready for this. Whispers grew louder. Some nobles feared the queen was losing her mind. Others believed she was being manipulated. A few feared a child could end the Veltranan bloodline forever. One evening, during a private dinner, Lysira spoke to Adam about the court. "They want me to marry a noble from House Traxon," she said, sipping from a glowing drink. "What will you do?" Adam asked. "I don't want to breed for politics anymore," she said. "I want to choose, like your kind does." Adam nodded slowly. "Choice is everything for us. It's what we fight for." She placed her hand on his. "If I chose you ... would you stay?" He looked at her, unsure for the first time. "This isn't a simple decision, Lysira. You're not just anyone. This is bigger than both of us." She didn't argue. She only said, "Think about it." That night, Adam stood on the observatory deck again, alone this time. He looked up at the stars, remembering Earth, remembering war, remembering the things he'd lost in now. This strange, powerful woman was offering him something else, something terrifying, something beautiful, a future. Back in her chamber, Queen Lysira stood in front of the mirror, her hand resting lightly on her stomach. The thought had crossed her mind more than once now. She, the great queen of Veltraxis, laughed at the idea of mating with a human. But now? Now she couldn't stop imagining what that child might look like. Would it be tall like her? Think like him? Feel more than either of them? And more importantly, would the galaxy ever be ready for it? Whispers of rebellion. Queen Lysira's court had changed. The air inside the palace was heavy with tension. Nobles no longer smiled. Guards whispered in corners. Servants moved quickly, eyes lowered. The name Adam was spoken with caution, sometimes with fear. To some, he was just a human soldier. To others, he was a threat, and to a few he was the beginning of something dangerous. Word had spread of the Queen's private interest in him. Rumors turned into warnings. Some said the Queen had lost her mind. Others believed Adam had used forbidden tech to control her. They couldn't believe the truth, that Lysira had simply chosen him. By her own will, deep underground, in the old council chambers, 3 nobles met in secret. The leader was Lord Draxon, a tall, harsh man from the warrior caste. Beside him sat Lady Velra, head of the Bloodline Purity Division. The third was General Kor, silent but deadly. Draxon slammed his hand on the table. "She cannot be allowed to continue this madness," Velra nodded. "A Veltranan queen bearing a human child? It would destroy the Empire's honor." "General," Kor finally spoke, "if she will not listen to reason, we must act." They planned quietly, not war. Not yet, but sabotage, a soft kill. Meanwhile, Queen Lysira spent more time with Adam. Not in meetings or tests, but in conversation. They walked through the quiet parts of the palace, the ancient halls no one visited anymore. There, away from judging eyes, they talked like equals. He told her about Earth, about how cities lived and fell, how humans loved, hated, and hoped. She listened like a student, asking questions, smiling at the strange stories of music, food, and childhood. He told her about his mother, a farmer who believed in growing life even during war. Lysira said nothing for a moment, then softly replied, "My mother was a blade. She taught me to cut first and ask later." Adam looked at her and smiled. "That explains a lot." She smirked. "Careful, human. Still not afraid." And she liked that. One night, Lysira sat in her private lab reviewing the latest data. The child simulations had become more detailed images of hybrid infants, statistics of growth, strength, even personality tendencies. The results were clear. A child between her and Adam would not be weak. It would be powerful. Balanced. New. She was beginning to believe this was not just a personal choice. It was evolution. The next step for both races. But before she could store the data, a warning flashed across her screen. Unauthorized access detected. She narrowed her eyes. Someone was spying on her files. At the same time, Adam was returning to his quarters when a servant bumped into him and quickly apologized. But something didn't feel right. He checked his room and found a small, hidden transmitter behind the light panel. He took it straight to Lysira. When she saw it, her expression turned cold. "They're watching you now." "Didn't take them long," Adam said. "They fear change," she replied. "They fear us." The next day, Lysira gathered her top advisors. She showed them the truth: genetic data, compatibility results, and long-term benefits of hybrid evolution. Some listened with interest. Others looked horrified. Lord Draxon stood and spoke loudly. "With respect, Your Majesty, this is not science. This is blasphemy. You would corrupt our bloodline with a human seed?" Lysira's eyes narrowed. "I would strengthen it." Velra added coldly, "And what happens when the people find out? They will never accept a half-human heir." Lysira stepped forward. Her voice was calm but firm. "Then they will learn, or they will fall behind." That night someone tried to poison Adam's food. The attempt failed barely, but it was enough. Lysira was done playing games. She called Adam to the throne room, alone. Her voice was quiet but serious. "You need to leave the palace for a while." Adam frowned. "Running won't help." "It's not running," she said. "It's preparing. I need time to deal with this rebellion quietly. If they kill you now, all hope is lost." Adam looked at her for a long moment. "Do you really want this, Lysira? Not just the idea of it. Not just a hybrid for science, but this?" She didn't blink. "Yes." He nodded slowly. "Then I'll wait." Wherever you send me." She stepped close, placed her hand on his chest. "And I will come for you." They didn't kiss, they didn't need to. The promise was already made. Adam was sent to a secret safe house deep in the floating forests of Voltraxis. Only 3 people knew the location. He spent his days training, reading, and waiting. He didn't know how long it would take, but he trusted her. And Lysira? She prepared for war, not with weapons, but with truth. She began speaking to the younger nobles, the scholars, the curious minds of the Empire. She showed them what could be, what should be. A future where Veltranans weren't stuck in old pride, but moved forward with strength and wisdom. Some listened, some still resisted. But the seed had been planted. Back in the shadows, Lord Draxon grew angry. His spies had failed. His poison had failed. And now, the Queen was spreading ideas faster than he could crush them. "We have no choice," he told his allies. "We remove her, now." But Lysira was ready, and her enemies were not the only ones. With a plan, the Queen's Gambit Queen Lysira stood before the high throne, dressed not in her usual flowing royal robes, but in battle armor. It was dark silver, edged with glowing blue lines that pulsed like a heartbeat. Her crown was gone. In its place sat a simple band across her forehead, the symbol of old warriors. Her eyes scanned the large throne chamber. Every noble, commander, and elder was present. It was not a court meeting, it was Judgment Day. "Let the truth be shown," she said loudly. A holographic display rose in the center of the room, showing images of Adam, DNA charts, hybrid child, simulations, and the attempts on Adam's life evidence collected secretly over weeks. Gasps echoed around the room. "This," Lysira said, pointing at the data, "is not treason, it is the future." Lord Draxon stood sharply. "You show proof of your betrayal and expect our loyalty?" "I expect intelligence," she replied calmly. "Look at the results. Our bloodline is failing. Our warriors are strong, yes, but slow to adapt. Our people are declining in number. This is not just about a child, it is about survival." Velra rose next. "You would crown a half-human heir?" "If that heir proves stronger, wiser, and braver than any of you," Lysira said, "then yes." The room erupted into shouting. Some supported her, some called her a traitor. Some remained silent, watching carefully. Then came the final blow. Young scholar, barely 20, stood and asked, "But what does he want? The human? Is he a tool, or does he choose this?" Lysira smiled, and the answer came at that exact moment. The large gates to the throne chamber opened, and Adam walked in. Tall, calm, eyes sharp, wearing clean black clothes without armor or weapons. He had returned, just as Lysira planned. Guards moved toward him, but Lysira raised a hand. "Let him speak." Adam walked to her side and turned to face the crowd. "I didn't come to claim anything," he said. "I didn't come to rule, or conquer, or change your culture. I came here to stop a war. But I found something else." He looked at Lysira. "I found someone who didn't treat me like a tool. Someone who listened. Someone who challenged me." He turned back to the crowd. "I don't want your throne. I don't even want your trust. But I will stand by her, not because she's a queen, because she's right." Silence followed. Then General Kor stepped forward slowly. "You say you don't want to rule," he said. "But what if the child does?" Adam looked straight at him. "Then teach the child well. Don't fear it. Shape it." That sentence struck deep, but not everyone was ready to listen. Lord Draxon's voice cut through the room. "Enough. This is weakness. You speak of peace and hope while enemies sharpen their blades. If we accept this infection, we are no longer Veltranans." He drew a pulse blade and pointed it at Lysira. "Step down. Or fall." Guards hesitated. Some took a step forward. Others stayed back. Lysira's hand moved slowly to her belt, and she drew her own blade. "I will not step down," she said. "But you are free to try." In seconds, Draxen lunged. The battle was quick. Lysira dodged, twisted, and slashed in one smooth motion. Her blade caught Draxen's side. He grunted, fell, and dropped his weapon. She stood over him. "This is what pride gets you, pain and failure." Velra moved to speak, but Lysira raised her blade. "One more word, and you join him." The room was silent once more. Lysira turned to the rest. "I will not force you to follow me. But I will not allow rebellion. If you choose the past, you may leave now. But if you want to build something greater, then stand with me." One by one, nobles began to stand. First the scholars, then younger commanders. Even General Kor gave a short nod. The old way was breaking. The new one had begun. That night, back in her private chamber, Lysira sat beside Adam in silence. The firelight from the wall flickered across their faces. For once, she looked tired, not weak. "Just worn from the day's storm. You knew they'd try to kill me," Adam said. She nodded. "I knew. But I also knew they'd fail." He looked at her closely. "You weren't sure, were you?" She gave a soft smile. "No, I wasn't, but I had to risk it. The truth needs to be spoken out loud, not whispered." He reached out and took her hand. "You were brave today." "So were you." There was a pause. Then she said, "Do you want this? Not the power, not the crown, this life, with me. With whatever comes next." Adam didn't hesitate. "I do." She leaned closer. And this time, they kissed. There was no pressure. No confusion. Only promise. Elsewhere, in the shadows of the city, Lord Draxen nursed his wound and spoke to a hidden figure through a secure line. "They've chosen evolution," he said with bitterness. "The queen will have her child." The figure replied coldly, "Then we strike before the child is born." Back at the palace, Lysira stared out the window, hand resting gently on her stomach. She didn't need a scan anymore. She knew life had already begun. Birth of a new legacy. 9 months passed like a slow-burning storm across Veltraxis. The empire changed day by day. Old statues were taken down. New schools opened. Peace talks were held with longtime enemies. But through it all, one story sat. At the center of it all, Queen Lysira was pregnant with a hybrid child. Some called the baby a miracle, others called it a mistake, but none could ignore it. Lysira ruled with calm strength, even as her body grew heavier and her movements slower. Adam remained by her side, no longer treated as a guest, but as her partner. Still, danger never truly faded. Lord Draxen had gone underground. Rebels had started gathering in the outer moons. Assassins had tried twice to enter the palace. Each one failed, but the final blow was yet to come. One evening, as thunder echoed through the silver clouds, Lysira stood on the palace balcony, looking out over her city. Lights danced in the distance. Ships floated above the towers like glowing birds. Adam walked up behind her. "You should be resting," he said. "I can't sleep," she replied. "The closer it gets, the more I feel something coming." He placed a hand on her back. "Veil. Try again." She nodded. "I know, but I'm ready." Adam looked down at her belly. "And the child?" Lysira smiled faintly. "It's strong. I can feel it. It kicks like a warrior." Adam laughed softly. "Good. It'll need that strength." That night, just before dawn, the attack began. Explosions shook the west tower. Smoke filled the halls. Screams echoed through the walls of the palace. The rebels had come not in secret this time, but in full force. A final attempt to end the future before it could begin. Queen Lysira was rushed into a secure chamber by elite guards. Adam followed, pulse rifle in hand, eyes sharp. But just as they reached safety, a bomb shook the chamber entrance. Debris fell. Fire roared behind them. The guards fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. And then the contractions began. "Lysira," Adam said, kneeling beside her. "The baby, it's coming," she gasped, gripping the wall. "We have to move. No time." Another blast hit above them. The chamber lights flickered. Smoke filled the air. Adam looked around. Heart racing. No medics. No doctors. No help. Just him. Lysira grabbed his arm. "Listen to me," she said, breathing hard. "You'll have to do it. You'll deliver the child." Adam's eyes widened. "I'm not. You are now." The next hour was chaos outside the chamber. Fire raged and enemies screamed. Inside, there was only pain, breath, blood, and purpose. Adam did everything he could. Lysira held onto him like her life depended on it. Maybe it did. Then finally a cry, a single, powerful cry filled the air. The child was born, a girl, half human, half-VELT, ran and completely alive. Adam held her in shaking hands. Her skin glowed faintly with a soft light. Her eyes opened wide, bright, silver with tiny flecks of deep blue. Lysira smiled, tears in her eyes. "She's perfect." Adam nodded. "She is." But the battle wasn't over. Outside, the rebels were breaking through. Then came the sound of footsteps. Fast, heavy, metal. Not enemies. Reinforcements. General Corps and a team of royal guards burst into the chamber, weapons drawn. They surrounded Lysira and Adam, shielding them. "We've secured the east wing," Corps reported. "We're pushing them back." "Get my child to safety," Lysira ordered. Adam stood, holding the baby tightly. "I'll go." "No," Lysira said, struggling. "To rise, we go together." Hours later, the fighting was over. The rebels had failed. Lord Draxon was captured, wounded but alive. His last words were spit through blood. "You destroyed our future." Lysira stood over him, the child in her arms. "No," she said calmly. "I saved it." A week passed. The palace was rebuilt quickly. A grand ceremony was held in the capital square. Thousands of Veltranans gathered. Holograms of the event streamed across planets. Even Earth sent a signal of peace. Queen Lysira stepped onto the stage, holding the child in her arms. Adam stood beside her. "This," she announced, "is my daughter. Her name is Sirael, a name meaning hope from two worlds." The crowd was silent. Then came cheers. Not from all. But from enough. As time passed, Sirael grew quickly. Her body developed faster than normal. Her mind was sharp, speaking by 6 months, solving puzzles by 1 year, training in both human and Veltranan arts by 2. She was the bridge between worlds, a symbol, but more importantly, a child born of love. One night, when the world had finally quieted, Lysira and Adam sat beside their sleeping daughter. She faced many challenges. Adam said, "She overcome them," Lysira replied. He looked at her. "Do you think we did the right thing?" She nodded. "We changed everything, and we survived." He smiled. "Then maybe it was all worth it." They held each other quietly. Outside, the stars shined bright. A new era had begun, the end.